All right, I've been looking all over the internet for different ways to fix Big Jim's legs, and I'm having a hard time finding anything. So, with a lot of trial and error, I think I figured something out that might help everybody out. Forgive my shaky hands, I have essential tremor, so I wiggle a lot. But it's cheap, it's easy, and it seems to work pretty good. Also, a fix for the head. When I got this Jim, he kind of looked like this guy, except his head was popped off. And so, probably anybody who collects these, you're familiar with these pegs breaking off. And if you don't have the pegs, I got a real cheap solution for that. If you still have the pegs, you could probably drill out the pegs like I did too. So the solution for this, if you don't have the pegs, my wife gardens and she puts these pinwheel things in her garden to keep the birds and stuff out. Well, the pinwheels have a little stem, and the stem fits perfectly into the ball joint. It has this on the end originally. It's like something like that, and the pinwheel spins around on it. So get a pair of diagonals. You have to kind of be careful when you cut with the diagonals. I had to cut like this, and move it so that it kind of keeps its shape, because you want it to still have that four peg shape that fits in there. You got to work it in a little bit. You guys probably won't have as much trouble as me because I'm a shaky man, but so that works pretty good. What I ended up doing was I cut a couple lengths of this, and then I took a drill bit and I used the 1/16 size drill bit, and I had a block of wood that I would put the little piece down into so it would stand up, and then I could drill straight down into it and create a hole. That worked really well. And then once you get the peg drilled out, I have a couple of the original pegs that I drilled out to show you, and I had nails in there. But what I did was I took a finishing nail that's roughly the same size. So finishing nail, and then took my needle nose, cut the end off of it, and I stuck one into the white peg that I just drilled out, and then tuck it through. So let me show you. Let me disconnect this guy. So here's one that I fixed. His legs are, it's kind of cool because it keeps the legs pretty close to how they were. You can tell it's been modified, but it still works. So there's the peg that fits into the joint. You can see I drilled it out. And then this is the finishing nail, and this leg comes out. I'm not going to take it out right now, but I will show you kind of the secret to this is you have to make a shim. And what I did was I had this gardening hose. You can use probably any gardening hose, but this is 1/4-inch vinyl tubing that I got at Lowe's, I think, or Home Depot. But anyway, it was like $5 for all this tube. I cut a section of this that is approximately the same as the distance in here, and then I heated it up with a heat gun while I held it. So I held my piece like this, heated it up after it's cut off, and then took a pair of pliers and crimped it and squished it down and made something that looks like this. But this one didn't work. This one was too short. All right, once you get something like that, then tuck that in there, pull it through with needle nose pliers. Make sure that it's under the rubber band because you want the pressure of that rubber band touching the shim. And then once the shim is in there, like this one is, you can see that the legs stay pretty still. The nail just kind of moves back and forth. And then you could take this side and align it and push it together. And then his legs are pretty stable. And if you wanted it to be permanent, put some Gorilla Glue on it or some sort of super glue. But that worked the best that I've found so far. I haven't seen too many fixes for these legs, and they still move. It's stable enough to stand up by itself. So that's kind of cool. I tried to flip or work them before, and they were flippy floppy, and then I figured out the shim. And then another thing that helped out really well too is heads. The heads are usually broken. This guy's head was broken when I got it. It doesn't really turn, it turns fine, but it doesn't really go up and down. But if you look, just get yourself a different piece of hose. I got this at AutoZone, and it's 7/32. It's 5.5 millimeters. And you're gonna need that because you need it to be a little bit thicker to fit in the neck, but that'll fit down in the neck really snug. And then I took an X-Acto knife, since it's about the perfect size for the neck. This side was a little too wide, so I just trimmed it just a little bit with an X-Acto knife. And then it fits down in the head, and then the neck, and then it fits in the head too. Another cheapo way to do it, if you don't want to buy the cord, or I'm sorry, the tube. The tube was, I think a foot of this was $1.98 at AutoZone, and then however many feet of this, 30 feet of this 1/4 inch was $5. They didn't have this in 1/2 inch, otherwise I probably would have bought it at Lowe's too. But cap erasers for the end of pencils, it's kind of less permanent of a fix, but you could stick that down in the neck, and it works best to take diagonals once it's down in there and cut this off so you don't have too much going up in the head. Sometimes they break off in the head. I had one break off yesterday, and then you just got to really jam it down in there, and that works too, but I felt like it gives him too much of a giraffe neck. And then the other problem is, like, when I went to take it apart, like I said, the eraser breaks. I got an eraser stuck in the head, piece of the eraser stuck in the head the other day. So, I mean, it's a temporary fix, but it doesn't work as good as the tubing. So I would suggest the tubing, because there's that little piece on the inside that this will push down against, so it won't go any farther than that. Kind of work it down in there, and then that's trimmed and it should fit back in there, and looks pretty good. It doesn't look too weird. So I hope that helps everybody. I know that I've got several big Jims with leg problems that I've got to fix, but now that I figured this out, I think it's going to go pretty quickly, and I think this is something that is going to be beneficial to anybody who collects Big Jim, because these pinwheels were 99 cents at Walmart. So basically, like, if I would have just known how to do this and not spent the money on the trial and error stuff, I would have spent $5 on tube, which would last me until I die. I had these nails, but finishing nails, I'm not really sure what the sizing are. I think I put 1 1/4 on my toolbox, but they're not 1 1/4. But then 1/16, so they might be roughly the same size. But the drill bits, I bought these at Harbor Freight for $1 or something, and I broke 3 of them drilling because they're crappy bits, but it worked. And then get yourself if you don't have a drill, I would say get a small drill or one of those electric screwdrivers that would hold this. But that should be a pretty good fix for everybody. So hope it helps, and good luck.